Welcome into the PHNX Sun Devils show. I'm Anthony Tocher. He is Shawn DePaz, the man who's not here, Shane Diefenbach.
Derek lost something.
On his way to Mexico.
What are you looking for, Derek?
Wow, what a start to this.
Is the Dief on his way to Mexico? He's not there yet?
I think he's on his way to Mexico.
Got you.
I'm not totally sure.
Viva.
Well, he's not driving. He took a
plane. He's in the sky. Kind of ironic that he took something that I drafted on yesterday's show.
Mm-hmm.
I own the skies, if you are unfamiliar.
Is he in a PJ?
Yeah, I was going to say, you drafted a PJ. That's not all planes.
You drafted a commercial airliner.
Yeah.
I own the skies.
I have hot air balloons, so.
Yeah, well, come on.
I think we split the skies.
I think we split the skies.
I think
you may have a third of the skies.
I consider drafting fighter jets because those things are badass.
But who's traveling in the fighter jet?
And also, there's some people who probably are on the wrong end of a fighter jet. So I stayed away from it.
Smart man. You're staying away from fighter jets, and tonight we could see some NFL GMs stay away from some top picks.
I think we will
in the NFL draft, guys. If you didn't know,
you're going to say stay away from Sun Devils because that's what I expect.
It is the 2023 NFL draft. It starts tonight, Shawn.
Yeah.
What's your level of excitement?
I mean, I'm very excited for a number of reasons. Obviously, as a Cardinal supporter, there's a lot going on today. D-Hop potentially trading. I don't know if you know this. Cardinals currently have the third overall pick in the NFL draft for now. So who knows what's going to happen there? And obviously, we have a big event tonight out at Fort Peak. So pull through for that. Starting at 2, draft starts at 5. Show starts at 4:45, I think. So I'm going to be out there for that. And then as a Bills fan, I am excited to see what they do. They need to draft, I think, a wide receiver or trade for D-Hop to give Diggs and JA17 a little help. But if they want to draft Bijan, I wouldn't complain about that either. So we'll see. I mean, we talked about it. I love the NFL draft. It's so much fun. I love all the fanfare around it. And I fucking love that chime. God damn it, that chime gets me juiced.
Do we have that somewhere?
I don't know if we have it in here.
I don't know.
It'd be beautiful if we.
I don't think we have it on this computer.
Well, while we see if we do have it, I am just gonna let y'all know. You already brought it up. Fort Peaks is the place to be tonight. If you don't have a place to take in round 1 of the 2023 NFL draft, all are welcome to Fort Peaks 8th Street Pub tonight. For those of you who have registered, we look forward to seeing you there for the event. Regardless, though, where you're watching it, make sure you're enjoying a delicious Red Bird Lager. Guys, if you are going to show up to Four Peaks, just remember, you do got to be 21 years or older to enjoy the alcohol responsibly, but you don't got to be 21 plus to enjoy some bomb food and some excitement when it comes to the 2023 NFL Draft.
I might treat myself at Four Peaks tonight.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah. I'm missing their French dip.
Ooh, so good.
If the night goes well enough, we should end it at, maybe do some go-karting.
Ooh, okay.
Maybe bowl a little bit. If the night goes well.
Dude, I love bowling.
So I know you do, and I want to go bowling. We gotta do more activities, man.
We do.
And Octane and Mavericks are the perfect place to do activities because they got a bunch of them: go-karting, VR, laser tag, axe throwing, bowling, arcades, and food and drink. A couple bars. They have I keep saying this every time I do an Octane read. I guess it's in Mavericks, but they're connected, by the way, so you can have yourself a day at Mavericks and Octane. They have like a legit like brick pizza, like fire pizza oven. It's fucking awesome. And the pizza was like, the food's like, I wasn't expecting much from arcade food. It's pretty damn good. I'm not gonna lie to you. So pull through to Mavericks and Octane for a bunch of different stuff throughout the summer. And check out OctaneRaceway.com and Mavericks.com. That's Mavericks with an X to learn more.
I know tonight is round 1 of the 2023 NFL Draft, but we could potentially see some Sun Devils getting taken. Probably not tonight.
Probably not.
Probably not tomorrow, but
Probably not.
Potentially in the later rounds of the draft, you could see some guys fly off the board, some familiar names. Whoa, I'll spit a beat there.
Familiar.
I'll spit a beat there for a second.
Familiar.
Let's start with probably the most likely Sun Devil to eventually get drafted, and that is running back Xazavian Valladay, dude. A guy that we saw really carry the Arizona State offense this past season, but he didn't just do it successfully for Arizona State this year. In years past, obviously, was the lead back, the cowbell guy for Wyoming.
Yep.
What did you see from X throughout the season that makes you believe that he has the talent to be an NFL caliber running back.
I mean, obviously there's just the experience part, but like he's just a dog. I don't know. Like he just runs hard.
Yeah.
I think it's you mentioned it earlier today, but he stays healthy.
Yeah.
Which is impressive considering how much he's used and how much he was used last year. And I think obviously the best ability is availability. And when you have a guy that has that kind of experience, and I said this to you earlier, I think you have to take a flyer on a guy who, like you said, stays healthy and has produced that much. I know a lot of it was at Wyoming, but he is a very consistent, high level producer in Division I football, and I think you have to take a flyer on a guy like that, especially late. So I think he is going to end up. I'm not going to sit here and pretend he's going to. This guy's going to end up being the best running back in the NFL. But that being said, I do think he has the drive to be a very successful running back in the NFL. Yeah. And running backs are kind of a crapshoot. Like he ends up in the right situation behind the right line and gets an opportunity, whether it's via injury or whatever. I think he could. It's a name you'll hear. On Sundays at some point.
Absolutely, and outside of a guy like Bijan Robinson or Jahmyr Gibbs, like outside of those two, I don't think there is really this isn't a deep running back class.
No,
in
not
my
really.
Personal opinion. So you could definitely see a guy like X get selected. I would say even as early as round 3. I know he has had some meetings with a handful of teams leading up to the draft, but just taking a look at what X was able to do at Arizona State this past season behind what we could argue is probably a pretty shaky offensive line, right? 215 carries, which was good for 28th in all of Division I football, which says a lot, honestly. And for him to do it and then have over 1,100 yards rushing, nearly 1,200, 16 touchdowns, and averaging 5.5 yards per carry, a guy that sits at 6 foot, 200 pounds. He's a little bit of a bigger running back, definitely a prototype for an NFL offense. I look for a team that has their RB1, right? Mm-hmm. I don't think you're drafting an Xazavian Valladay in the same sense that you would be drafting a Bijan Robinson.
No,
you're drafting Bijan Robinson to go be your workhorse. You're drafting an Xazavian Valladay to take the pressure off of a team that has already got their lead guy. Mm-hmm. I think an interesting spot, potentially the Tennessee Titans, right? You've got your Derrick Henry situation. I know he's getting up there in age. You could get a guy like an Xazavian Valladay who has proven that he's capable of carrying a workload. In a sense, you get to the later parts of the season, and Derrick Henry, we've seen over the last couple of years, tough to stay healthy and really produce at the way he's able to at the start of the season. A guy like X, I think, fits in pretty well there. And something that I think Xazavian Valladay proved this past season that maybe he didn't in years past, that I think he really made an effort to this season, was his ability to play out of the backfield and catch the football, right? This year, 37 receptions, 289 yards, 2 touchdowns, averaging 7.8 yards per reception. This is a guy that coming into this past season had never had a year where he caught more than 23 passes. And I think that's something that you see just with Sean Aguano's running backs in general, right? They're able to really hone in on their craft at Arizona State in Tempe. So enough talk about what he did at Arizona State. Let's get into where you genuinely think a guy like Xazavian Valladay could end up. Shawn, you have an interesting selection here.
Yeah, I mean, like you said, I think it's going to be a situation where they know who their guy is, obviously, and he's going to end up being a backup. And I mean, I look at a place like the Dallas Cowboys. Obviously, they have Tony Pollard there, but they don't have Zeke anymore.
Yeah.
There's going to be room in that running back room. You're taking a late-round flyer. Why not? I also find the Minnesota Vikings interesting. Dalvin Cook, obviously, I don't know what's going on there, but even if he ends up staying a Viking, he does not always stay healthy. And after that, is Mattinson still there?
Mattinson, I do believe, is still the back.
So, I mean, X would not be, I don't think, I think X would be a great running back to have in a situation where he can be your number 3, but you're not sure what you're going to get or what kind of availability you might get from your number 1. I know I bring them up all the time, but again, a team that is, shallow in the running back room, the Buffalo Bills. And I think a guy with that kind of that runs like that could be a value. I mean, he could be a value to any team, but I think a team like that could be interesting. But I do really like. I think it would be interesting to see him with that star on the side of his helmet.
Yeah, absolutely. We know how well they treat their running backs in Dallas. I'm going to go in a total opposite direction. Give me an AFC team that also has their star running back in Joe Mixon. Although there is a little bit of, I don't want to say necessarily off the field issues anymore, but still a question mark as to what the future holds. So I'm going to go with the Cincinnati Bengals. Xazavian Valladay, I think, fits that system, right? You're going to a team that is obviously a pass-heavy team in the Cincinnati Bengals with Joe Burrow and company. This is a team that pretty soon has to pay Joe Burrow and these receivers, so they may eventually have to part ways with a guy like Joe Mixon. And I think if you can get your future running back now in Xazavian Valladay, I think that would go a long, long way. And Xazavian Valladay is a tough guy. He's a tough runner. He just fits the AFC North, in my personal opinion. So I'm going to say X is a Cincinnati Bengal. I would say he is probably the first running back. Like, he's the first Sun Devil off the board.
Yeah,
but I could be wrong.
Agree.
I could absolutely be wrong. Guys, something I'm not wrong about is BetMGM. Okay?
Fact.
They've got all of the necessary tools for you to succeed as a sports bettor, whether that be promos, whether that be special props or plays that other sports books don't necessarily have. Guys, if you haven't signed up for BetMGM yet, use bonus code PHNX because there's a few different offers depending on where you live. But for our Arizona audience, you guys are going to get up to $100 in bonus bets on your first wager with BetMGM. Again, make sure you use bonus code PHNX. Check out the show notes for full details. And now, guys, you get to listen to the sweet, sweet tone of Shane Diefenbach's voice.
Disclaimer, 21 plus to wager. Visit BetMGM.com for terms and conditions. U.S. promotional offers not available in Washington, D.C., Mississippi, Nevada, New York, and Ontario. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Colorado, D.C., Illinois, Indiana, Louisiana, Maryland, Mississippi, New Jersey, Ohio, Pennsylvania, Tennessee, Virginia, West Virginia, Wyoming. Call 877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY 467-369, New York. Call 1-800-NEXT-STEP, Arizona. 1-800-522-4700, Kansas, Nevada. 1-800-327-5050, Massachusetts. 1-800-BETS-OFF, Iowa. 1-800-270-7117 for confidential help, Michigan.
All right, moving on to a guy that we saw just have supreme success at Arizona State, and that is linebacker Kyle Soelle, Captain America.
Yeah.
Right, for ASU's defense. And I think something that doesn't get talked about enough for Kyle Soelle is the defenses that he had to play in, right? We know obviously a Donnie Henderson defense was a very soft defense to play for. And then you look in years past, coaches like Antonio Pierce, et cetera. Like, this is a guy that I don't think ever had a coach that was able to unlock his full potential. And even so, what he was able to do for Arizona State's defense last year was truly incredible. 110 total tackles, 56 solo tackles, 2 interceptions, 2 pass deflections. What did you see from Kyle Soelle last year that impressed you?
I mean, he was just like that guy. I mean, obviously outside of like the leadership, which is, I think, super valuable, especially from a guy that young, but like obviously he's not that young in the context of college football, but you know what I mean. And he was a guy that just like had a nose for the ball. Yeah. I mean, he found ways to make plays and be involved in everything. I mean, a couple interceptions earlier in the year, I believe, and then he just was racking up tackles. And I think I mean, especially, it's not a guy that I expected. If he does get drafted, it's not going to be anytime early. But you like a guy like that. You like a guy that's shown that he produces. And it produces, in, like you said, in not the most ideal of situations where he had to be the guy. He showed that he could be the guy. And again, ASU is like, people might think, you could think about what you want about ASU and where they rank amongst Power Fives and Division I football, whatever. But he was playing against very good schools and producing. He had to play against some very good quarterbacks and very good offenses. And I think that will obviously play in his favor. William Jasper's dropping absolute. I don't know. Are they predictions? Or are they scoops? William Jasper, who are you really, Adam Schefter? But I mean, he said Soelle 6th, 7th rounder to the Chiefs. I could totally see him in one of those in a Chiefs uniform.
He says, Soelle,
you are a 6th, 7th rounder to the Chiefs. He also said X is going to the Dolphins and that Nesta's going somewhere in the 2nd and 3rd round. I wouldn't mind seeing predictions too. Any of it. Yeah,
X in the 3rd, Soelle and Silvera in the 7th, Merlin, undrafted free agent. Something that I think sticks out to me in terms of Kyle Soelle that I think you have to consider when you're a general manager, right, is Kyle Soelle, in terms of like just prototypical size, is a decent sized linebacker at 6'4", 235 pounds. And you look at a player that was able to grow year in and year out at Arizona State. And I know statistically, you can only learn so much, right? But when it comes to a defensive player, specifically a linebacker, obviously the first place you're going to be looking is their total tackles, right? So from 2018 to 2022, he literally grew every single year. 2018, 15 tackles. 2019, 19 tackles. 2020, 26 tackles in a shortened season, having a better year than 2019. 2021 is you see the significant jump, going 3 times his tackles that he had in 2020. 82 total tackles, and then obviously 2022, 110 total tackles, a guy that at one point was the nation's leading tackler. Where do you have him going?
I mean, there's a lot of reasons. I mean, there's not a lot of reasons. A guy with this kind of energy just seems like a New England Patriot. Yeah. I don't know. Like I said earlier, I also think he would look really good in a, and maybe, is that just how I'm making my decisions, is what jerseys I think they would look good in? I think that might be part of it. But I think we look really good in a Niners jersey as well. But I mean, listen, this is a guy that we know who Kyle Soelle is. Like, he's a guy that's going to impress in interviews and stuff like that, and just has the kind of energy that I think a guy like Bill Belichick would really appreciate. Like, I don't think that is that hot of a take. I'm not really being that bold with this prediction. You just have a guy that just seems like he would fit the Belichick way.
Yeah, absolutely. Definitely fits the Belichick way. A place that I look for Kyle Soelle to potentially end up is the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Obviously, they are pretty familiar with their Sun Devils, obviously going and getting Rachaad White last season. But defensively, you look at Todd Bowles in that system, and their go-to guy in Devin White, obviously requesting a trade this past offseason. You don't really know if he's going to be back in those uniforms. He's only 25 years old. They may have to sign him to a big contract or simply just deal him away. And if they do, I think you get a guy like Kyle Soelle to be your leader, and I think he's shown at a Division I level how capable he is of leading a defense. Yeah. So I like Kyle Soelle to eventually be a Tampa Bay Buccaneer. And at that point, that would give them, I want to say, the most Sun Devils out of any of the teams to have. I think 2. I think there's a bunch of teams that have 1, but I don't think there's a single team in the league that has more than 1 Sun Devil right now.
Can't think of any.
Are you including practice squad?
No, I am not including practice squad.
Yeah, I don't know.
Then I think that one is the leading with the 2.
Tampa Bay Bucks. So, I don't know. Regardless, though, I think Kyle Soelle, Xazavian Valladay, and then Nesta Jade Silvera, who we'll get to in a second, regardless of where they go, I think they're going to be pretty upset that they don't have a Burrito Express location near them, unless they end up to be in Arizona Cardinal. Guys, we tell you about Burrito Express every single day, and it's because we believe in them. If I had a top 3 pick in the 2023 NFL draft, I would be drafting a steak and egg burrito, number 1 overall. I don't care what anybody has to say about Bryce Young.
You would draft him number 1 overall with the 3rd overall pick?
Absolutely.
That'd be
they have
impressive.
Such a high
Why has no team ever done
ceiling.
that before? Why hasn't any team just decided to pick first when they're picking 3rd?
I don't know.
Couldn't
tell you.
Cardinals should try
Couldn't
that
tell you. They just be better.
Just be better.
Be better. Or actually be worse. Be worse, in theory, right?
Maybe just be fucking better.
Burrito
Express t-shirt on the PHNX locker.
Locations all over the valley. Best burritos in the galaxy, guys.
I would agree.
Follow them on social.
By far, the worst part about being a Sun Devil was that eventually you have to get drafted and then
leave
Tempe, presumably, unless you get drafted by the Cardinals.
And not have Burrito Express.
Burrito Express. And yeah, a lot of these guys are going to have to, pack up their cars, drive somewhere across the country. And to do that, you're going to need gas. You're going to need snacks, probably some coffee to keep you awake. And where are you going to do that? Circle K. Duh. Simply the best gas station of all time. They got the Polar Pops. They stay cold and longer. Now they're coffees, which they're honestly, I'm not gonna lie, I'm a big coffee drinker, and there's a lot of people who are out here like bougie and like, I like my Starbucks, I'm not gonna get coffee from a gas station. The coffee's better than Starbucks. I'm sorry. I know Max doesn't like me talking about other brands, but the reality is that Starbucks or Circle K coffee competes with them. They compete with the best of them. They're the best. And I know she's pointing that I have Dutch out here. Relax. It's closer to my house. But if you're one of these draftees that's going to have to pack up their car and move across country, and you're like, where is my closest Circle K? I got a website for you. It's circlek.com/store-locator to find the closest Circle K near you. It's
the GOAT.
It's the GOAT. It's the GOAT.
Guys, Nesta Jade Silvera, the last Sun Devil that we're going to be talking about today. I know Merlin Robertson could also potentially get drafted. I don't think either one of us think that he will get drafted, but an undrafted free agent spot is certainly an option for a guy like Merlin. But talking about Nesta Jade Silvera, a guy who was your guy all season long, from the moment he transferred from Miami to ASU, you really were a believer in this guy. What was it about Nesta that had you, being a believer?
Yeah. First off, shout out Agent Gabe, said he clicked on the stream because it was the first in the feed. So welcome. We're talking about ASU sports. That's what we always talk about. Nesta, you heard when he transferred from Miami, you had guys on that team saying he was the best, he was the most talented player on that team.
Yeah.
And he produced in Miami, he produced in the ACC, which is still a Power 5 conference, believe it or not. And he's a dog. Like he likes to learn. That was one of the things that he talked about when we talked to him, is that the reason he chose ASU when he transferred is because when he was going through the process, the coaches were, and obviously it's an old coaching staff, but still they were looking at his film, and immediately in their meetings they were talking to him about things that he could do better and how he could grow as a player. And he loved that. And I think having that kind of energy is really impressive. And then he's a disruptor. He likes blowing up plays. And he's just fun, dude. I love his personality.
He is just fun. He's got a phenomenal personality regardless. I think Nesta Jade Silvera, something that I loved about him was he gives me big, and this, I don't know how this is going to come across. He gives me big, like, Trae Young energy. Like, I don't care.
Okay.
I don't care that you don't like me. Yeah. I don't care that you think that I'm not as good.
That you don't like him.
Yeah, that I'm not as good. That's the thing I think with Trae Young, right? Like, is there so many people that like, oh, he's smaller.
Yeah.
Right? Or he doesn't have all the tools in his tool belt. Well, I feel like Nesta's a guy like that, right? Like, there are a lot of people out there that probably look at Nesta Jade Silvera's tape, that look at his numbers, that are like, well, like, what does he really bring to the table, right? He's not a monster in the trenches like a Gerald McCoy or a guy like a Ndamukong Suh years ago, right? He doesn't have that sheer size. He is not a absolute beast off the edge like a Chase Young or any of those guys. But in terms of like a defensive tackle, I feel like has the potential to be a real player in the NFL. Potentially a guy like a Haloti Ngata, where you just make a staple with the defense for years on end. And like, we haven't seen teams that outside of that Ravens team build around a defensive tackle the way that they did.
Yeah, and there's always room. Like, obviously, we want all these guys to be Hall of Famers, whatever. But there's always room for that guy who is that backup defensive tackle and comes in and makes a play or two a game. And Nesta has that in him for sure. I think he's a guy that you give him an opportunity, you'll notice him a few times. And I again don't want to set the bar that low, but I think that is something he's certainly capable of achieving.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's see where we have these guys landing. I've got them landing in Los Angeles. Okay. We have a problem stopping the run, and we have had that same problem for years. So this may be a little biased in terms of I wouldn't mind just getting another interior defensive lineman, but I could also see him fitting in with the Seattle Seahawks. I could also see him fitting in with a team like the Las Vegas Raiders.
Oh, look at that. What I'm saying. The same thing you just said.
I could definitely see him fitting with either one of those teams. And you have Baltimore, which just spent a lot of money on their quarterback, so they might not have any money to spend on some free agent defensive linemen. So maybe that's where you see Nesta in Baltimore.
Yeah, I like it, Baltimore. And I said this off to you off the show. If you talk to Nesta and you know anything about Baltimore, he has a personality that would thrive in Baltimore. Like, obviously he's a South Florida guy, but he's got such a Baltimore energy to him. And the Ravens defense, it's obviously not Ray Lewis and Ed Reed still, but it's still the Baltimore Ravens. Like, we talk about the Patriots all the time as this absolute defensive factory and just the example of how to run a franchise. Baltimore, I don't think is that far off from that, especially defensively. They always just seem to have, obviously they've struggled a couple of years, but they always seem to have just solid defenses. And I think he is a guy that, like I was talking about earlier, can play that role on a Baltimore defense where you have him come in every now and again, he makes a few plays. And again, I think when you're talking undrafted or late round guys, I think the personality and what you know about the guy is so vital. because obviously you're kind of taking a flyer on guys no matter what. I think him having the kind of personality, well, he's got the kind of personality that would fit the city of Baltimore, and also like the work ethic and the drive and the desire to get better that would fit Harbaugh and that franchise.
Yeah.
And I think that would be a really good spot for him to land.
Yeah, I like Baltimore. I know I brought it up earlier in terms of talking with Xazavian Valladay about just AFC North energy, right? This is another guy that just gives AFC North energy.
He's willing to get dirty.
Yes, and that might not necessarily be in Baltimore. I could see a situation where he ends up in Pittsburgh or Cincinnati or any of those teams.
Yeah,
right?
He does have a big North vibe.
Yeah, like
despite being
AFC,
a South Florida guy, AFC, NFC North.
When we say AFC North vibe, it's like you said, dirty or just mean and tough. Like you think of like
he's gonna punch you in the mouth kind of energy.
7-3 games that are just like gross and they're won and lost in the trenches.
It's rainy and muddy.
Yes. If you want to win a game in the trenches, whether he's in the game or not, you want Nesta Jade Silvera on your team because he is that guy. He is the guy that I think is going to fit into just about any locker room that he gets into.
And I'll say this, if you're a team that ends up drafting an interior lineman, defensive lineman earlier in the draft, Nesta is the perfect guy to push that guy during camp and stuff like that.
Whoever gets a Jalen Carter?
Yeah, because he is the kind of guy that it doesn't matter where he's drafted. He is going to try and win that starting spot, and I think that is the perfect kind of energy to push, like you said, like a Jalen Carter, especially Jalen Carter, who people are all concerned about his off the field stuff. You have a guy like Nesta, who by everything that I've seen from him is like he's a fun guy, but he's a good dude too, and he hasn't gotten in any kind of trouble that I've known of so far. Like the perfect kind of guy to push a guy like Jalen Carter or whatever interior defensive lineman you draft in earlier rounds.
Yeah, that's a really, really, really strong point. Before we get out of here, night one, we already talked. We're not going to be seeing probably any Sun Devils get off the board. If they do, my goodness, we might have to get a pitchfork tattooed somewhere.
For real.
But first couple of picks, what do you see? How do you see it playing out
tonight? Oh, just in general in the NFL draft? I mean,
how do you see it playing out tonight?
We talked about this earlier on PHNX Bet, so go back and watch that if you want some a betting perspective on all this stuff. But I mean, the first pick is I wonder where that's going to go. It's going to be Bryce Young, although
Nesta Jade Silvera.
Oh, yeah, dude. I think I'd stop watching NFL football. I'd be like, there's something wrong here. We're in a simulation.
If Nesta gets taken,
yeah. Like all love to Nesta, but let's be real. Like you're not drafted. Like a defensive quarterback's going first.
Yeah.
After that, I honestly don't even remember what I said earlier. I am just, it's too much. Zane Meeks.
JJ, you are goated, dude. Zane Meeks, first overall.
I don't know. I don't know what the Texans are doing with that second pick. You have to draft a quarterback. I think we talked about this. The NFL draft just gets the analysis and the discussion around it gets so overcooked leading up to the draft.
Yeah.
The obvious choice is you draft the best quarterback first overall. The second pick, they need a quarterback too. You draft the best quarterback there.
Because Davis Mills is not that guy.
No, he's not that guy, and they know that he's not that guy. And I'm not going to say the best because I do not think he's going to end up being a great NFL quarterback. The most surefire pick is C.J. Stroud after Bryce Young. And so I don't think that's what I said earlier, but I think they're going to end up taking a quarterback. I don't think it's if they do go defense, it's obviously going to be Will Anderson. I mean, maybe not obvious, but I think that's who they should go. Cardinals, third pick. I don't see them. They're going to trade it. That's again, all of this stuff gets overcooked, overtalked about. That was the narrative off rip. They were going to trade that third pick. There was no reason for them not to. Now, if Will Anderson's still on the board, that might be a little different discussion. But I think they trade out of that. I don't know who to, but I think it's to obviously a quarterback needy team, and I think that depends on who it is. I don't think the Colts are trading up one spot. I think it should go Will Richardson. But if the Colts are the next team to draft a quarterback, Anthony Richardson. That's
we've been doing this all day,
dude,
and you did this the other day. We're talking about Richardson.
Yeah, I don't know.
Got a love for
I was also talking about Will Levis and Williams on the screen, and I don't know, all over the place. I think if the Colts are the next team to draft a quarterback, they take Will Levis. Otherwise, you should take Anthony Richardson, especially if a team like the Seahawks or the Titans trade up. I mean, I don't think they're going to, but if a team like the Raiders trades up, you got all teams that have quarterbacks that are more than capable of carrying them for a year, 2, 3 years. And that's a perfect situation for Anthony Richardson to develop because he definitely needs to develop there. So I think ultimately you're going to get a team to trade up to 3, take Anthony Richardson there. Will Levis goes 4 to the Colts. We talked about him. Bets. He just seems like a Colt. And then 5, we have the Seahawks. If there's no quarterbacks on the board, I think you probably go defensive back, maybe go Devin Witherspoon, maybe. I don't know. If there's 4 quarterbacks off the board at pick 5, I don't know what happens there. I don't know.
I mean, if you're Seattle, you take the best defensive player.
Yeah, you either go.
They don't need edge though.
That's why you probably.
But we've seen teams take the best player.
Yeah, that's true. Or they trade back. They trade back again to a team that definitely could use an edge.
Yeah.
I mean, look at a team like I don't know where they're picking, but the football team, the Commanders, didn't pick up that option on Chase Young. So obviously they have him for another year. But if you have a guy there, you don't have to pay Chase Young in the next offseason. That's a pretty solid situation to go. Williams saying Stroud and Richardson are going to go 1 and 2. I understand the Stroud thing. Like I've said multiple times, as soon as we heard that as soon as the Panthers traded for that first overall pick, the first thing we heard was that they love CJ Stroud. But Bryce Young is just too good, man. And you know who he is, right? Like you take any of these other quarterbacks, you're gonna have to teach him some things. The only problem with Bryce Young is his size, and you can't do anything to change that. You can't do anything to convince yourself you're gonna change that. So I think you just got to go with the best quarterback, and I think that's Bryce Young.
Yeah, I think you're wrong. I think that there are some NFL GMs out there that could convince themselves that Bryce Young is taller than he actually is, and the only way they can do that is with some OGs, guys.
True.
OGs will definitely have you thinking that a 5'10" quarterback is 6'6". So, I mean, NFL GMs, if you're out here watching, or if you're Steve Keim, you're probably already on the OGs.
Or let's be real. Fans are never happy with who they pick. You're not going to be happy with what the Cardinals do tonight. Regardless, it's how drafts work. Take some OGs. Then you'll enjoy it.
Absolutely, guys. Whether that be the strawberries and cream, the aqua berry. If you're trying to go to sleep,
dude,
after the pick,
I need some of those strawberries and cream.
Or if your team,
I am sore.
Look, if your team decides to trade out of the first round, what's the point of staying up? Take some aqua berry sleep edition gummies and have yourself
if you're
an
a Dolphins
evening.
fan. And you don't have a pick in the first round.
Do that. And maybe, stop tampering during the free agency period, and then you will. Guys, you can find them at your local dispensary at ogsbrands.com. You do got to be 21 plus to enjoy responsibly.
Yeah. Young and Stroud are not the same guy. Young is better. CJ Stroud, I don't like his decision making. I don't like when he decides or doesn't decide to run the football. And I also think he had one of, if not the best wide receiving cores in the history of college football.
CJ Stroud will be a bust.
I think he will be a bust. Yeah, I'm not a fan of CJ Stroud. I understand why you would be, but I just
give me Ohio State quarterbacks. And also, do anything.
Yeah, well, that's what I was gonna say. Big school quarterbacks don't do shit, and I know Bryce Young is obviously goes to Alabama, but he's different. Like he's different.
He's not a Mac Jones.
He's not Mac Jones.
Let's be real. I would argue that Alabama quarterbacks out of big schools do the most. You look at the last few years, I know Mac Jones isn't like everybody's favorite quarterback, but he's the starting quarterback for the New England Patriots. Tua Tagovailoa, he's the starting quarterback for the Miami Dolphins. I know he transferred out, but Jalen Hurts, the second highest paid quarterback in the NFL now.
The highest paid quarterback in the NFL now.
No. The Lamar deal will beat him.
Oh, that's what I mean. Yeah, you're right.
Look, if I am going to take a quarterback from a big school, I'm going to take a Bama over an Ohio State, because you look at Ohio State, who do you got in the league? Justin Fields. And Justin Fields right now is still, I know it's tough to judge him based off of what the Chicago Bears do, but outside of him, who are we looking at?
This is the first time in a while that we have had all of the quarterback prospects are from major conference. Like you look at the top 5 quarterbacks, CJ Stroud is the only one who's not from the SEC.
Yeah.
Like everyone else is from SEC schools.
That's true.
Hendon Hooker, and then looking at PFF's quarterback rankings right now, Hendon Hooker is the 5th, and then Tanner McKee, DTR. Those are both obviously Pac-12. And then
DTR, you are
Arizona Cardinal.
Yes, I absolutely believe it.
Why not? You got a guy that can run the football. It would be a perfect gap bridge for while you're waiting for Kyler. And then if he ends up balling, you end up having a massive asset. That you wouldn't have had either way, because no one's Colt McCoy could throw for 5,000 yards a game. He's not going to be a massive asset regardless. So I think the Cardinals do end up taking a quarterback somewhere late in the draft, whether that ends up being a DTR, Tanner McKee, which I really hope they don't, or even I don't think he's going to end up getting drafted, but Stetson Bennett.
Malik Cunningham.
Dude.
also, and Duggan.
Max Duggan.
A lot of
you
guys.
want to talk about a dog? You want to talk about a guy who's going to go out there and ball out for a few games with little opportunity he has? Max Duggan does not go down without a fight. I love that man. I don't think he's going to be a great NFL quarterback, but he's fun.
Manitas, are you talking about the Cardinals white unis? If you love the new Cardinals white unis, oh, buddy.
They're clean.
No. I'm just saying. You're going to want to watch PHNX Cardinals tonight.
Oh, yes.
Watch PHNX Cardinals tonight because you're about to be excited about some stuff. Just saying. Okay?
Leah's looking at me because she didn't know.
Just tap in. You're
gonna,
brother.
You want to, I don't know. I just match, maybe kind of match I'm just saying, watch out. I completely forgot about that.
It's going to be fun. It's going to be real fun, guys. That's going to do it.
4:45 tonight.
That is going to do it for us right here on the PHNX Sun Devils show. But if you enjoyed the content, we're here just about every day of the week. So give us a follow at PHNX_Sun Devils. You can follow me at Anthony_Tochu. You could follow the man on an aircraft on his way to Mexico at Shane Deef.
He has arrived.
He has landed.
They are wearing matching Bass Pro Shop hats and children's sunglasses. That's
Shane Diefenbach has arrived
to know.
to take over Mexico, ladies and gentlemen.
Motherfucker. I love that guy.
You can follow Shawn DePaz at Shawn_DePaz.
I mean, ready to boo Roger Goodell as always.
Yes, sure. We will see you guys Friday at 2 p.m. But for now, enjoy the draft. Peace. Okay, Mickey Mouse.
I'm ready. I'm so ready to boo Roger Goodell. You thought we were leaving, but we lied. Now we're leaving.